Hola clase. Well, before we begin, I'd like to go through, and you don't have to take notes with this, I'd just like to go through a nice little review of what we've learned so far. Do you remember the tenses of these two verbs right here? Voy al cine a menudo. Mis estudiantes estudian mucho. I think you know what tense those are. How about this? Ayer fui al cine. Anoche miré una buena película. Do you remember those two tenses? I think you do. Cuando yo era niño, iba al cine a menudo or mucho. A menudo mis amigos comían. Do you remember these three? I think you do. The reason why I bring this up is because we need to make sure we understand what a tense is. And a tense a tense indicates the time of the action. So we learned the present, we learned the imperfect, we learned the preterite, we also learned how to talk about the future. One day we'll actually see the future tense. So these are tenses. Now we're going to talk about moods. So a mood, and languages do have moods, reflect the attitude of the speaker toward an action. So what kind of attitude? Well, it could be one of expressing or stating facts, or one of expressing a wish or other feelings toward an idea or a fact. That's what a mood is. It's real important that you get this concept down, because what we're going to learn is that the subjunctive is not a tense, it's a mood. And then we're going to compare this mood to a mood that you've been working with, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And the mood that you have been working with for those three tenses that we just went through, the present, the preterite, and also the imperfect, for the indicative mood. And the indicative mood is used to express actions that actually did, or will take place. They are used to express real events. So the present tense that you already know, that you learned way back, is now going to be called the present indicative. The present indicative, because everything that you learned either expressed a real action or a real event, something true, something factual, or maybe asked a question about something true, something factual. For example, José tiene el pelo muy largo. He has very long hair. No fue a la peluquería ayer. He didn't go to the barbershop yesterday. Va a ir a la peluquería mañana. These are all considered indicative. And the reason why is because they express factual, real information. That's the mood. The tense is the present indicative, the preterite indicative, the present indicative. That's the mood, indicative, expressing factual, real information. Now let's take a look at another mood. This is the focus of the lesson here. And that mood is called the subjunctive. And the subjunctive is used to express that which is not necessarily true or real. I like to call it the mood of what may be. The mood of what may be. Because it expresses things that might happen, that you hope or want to happen. That's the subjunctive. It is the direct opposite of the indicative. The indicative expresses facts, real information, and the subjunctive expresses things that may be true, that may happen. So let's take a look at these sentences once again and compare. We have José tiene el pelo muy largo y va a la peluquería. That's a fact. He has very long hair and he's going to the barbershop. That's factual information. That's why we call it the present indicative. Those verbs are in the present tense. Present indicative because we're indicating a fact. But along comes los padres de José, and they say, no quieren. They do not want que él tenga el pelo tan largo. Here's the subjunctive right here. That's the present subjunctive. The reason why is because They don't want him to have hair so long, but he still may wind up having it. You don't know, I don't know, no one knows. Remember, the future is a mist. And then we have this right here. This verb right here means hope. So they hope that he goes to the barbershop soon. Just because they hope that he goes to the barbershop, he may not go. You don't know, I don't know, they don't know, no one knows, because the future is a mist. So this verb right here is what is considered the present subjunctive. So before we learn how to use the subjunctive, we're going to learn how to form the present subjunctive verbs. It's real important that we learn how to form it, but it's really not that difficult, as you will find out. Just a reminder here that you already know how to form the present indicative, Class A. Yes, the present indicative is the present tense that you learned when you first started in Spanish 1. That was the present tense. We're now adding the mood, present indicative. Now we're going to learn how to form the present subjunctive. Remember, there are 2 present tenses in Spanish. Do you remember, Class A, how to form the usted command, the ustedes command, and the negative to command? Sure you do. You learned the 3-step process. Well, here we're going to also use the 3-step process to form the present subjunctive. So now you're going to go to the yo form of the present indicative. Remember, that's the yo form. Every verb except for 5 end in an O. That's the present indicative. So we're going to drop the O, and now we're going to add the endings. And these endings are for every single person. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. AR verbs now will be getting this vowel, the E vowel, just like you did with the negative to, the usted and ustedes commands. ER and IR verbs will get the A vowel, just like you did with the negative to command, the usted and ustedes command. So here's an example of the present subjunctive. 3 verbs: hablar, comer, escribir. Hable, hables, hable, hablemos, habléis, hablan. Coma, comas, coma, comamos, comáis, coman. Escriba, escribas, escriba, escribamos, escribáis, escriban. However, Class A, please do not use the present subjunctive like you use the present indicative. There are going to be special uses for the present subjunctive. We're just learning how to form them now, the present subjunctive. You need to also remember that there are quite a number of yo form irregulars in the present indicative. They are going to be used in the present subjunctive. Let's take a look. So the verb conocer, the yo form of conocer in the present indicative was conozco. You're going to drop the O and add the vowel opposite the conjugation. And the ZC will be in every single form. Conozca, conozcas, conozca, conozcamos, conozcáis, conozcan. Likewise with hacer and ver. Take a look. Write these down. Now these you do not have to write down. It's just showing you all the yo form irregulars in the present indicative that they will be used in the present subjunctive. So look at the yo form indicative here of all of these verbs. They're irregular. A lot of them are go-go's, a lot of them are zikos. That stem is going to be used in the subjunctive, and that stem is going to be used in every single person of the present subjunctive. Likewise, if you remember the cargan and zar, in the negative to commands, usted and ustedes command, they had a spell change. Well, they're going to have that same spell change in every single person of the present subjunctive. Let's take a look. We have the verb sacar, jugar, almorzar. Look how they spell change. Also, remember, jugar stem changes too. Likewise, almorzar. But then we get to the nosotros form. Look what happens with jugar and almorzar. They do not stem change in the nosotros, vosotros form. And we'll learn the rule about that in a couple minutes. To remember the 5 irregulars in the -2 command, the usted and ustedes command. Those 5 irregulars are also going to be used in the present subjunctive. So let's take a look. And here they are. We have dar, estar, ir. Please note, dar has accent marks. De, des, de. Accent mark on the yo and l. Demos, des, den. Estar, este, estés, este. Estemos, estés, estén. Accent marks. Ir, vaya, vayas, vaya. Vayamos, vayáis, vayan. Real important. Every single verb form in the present subjunctive. The last two, ser and saber. To remember, the -2 command is now the to form of the present subjunctive. Remember the usted and ustedes command. They are now the usted or the la and usted, ellos, ellas, and ustedes form of the present subjunctive. Likewise, saber. To remember the impersonal expression I. The I that meant, where is it? Right there. There is and there are. Well, in the present subjunctive, it's aya. So I is the present indicative, aya is the present subjunctive. Compare these two sentences. Hay muchas clínicas en esta ciudad. You're stating a fact. There are a lot of clinics in this city. That's a fact. That's why this is present indicative. But then along comes es importante. Es importante que haya más farmacias. It's important that there be more pharmacies. But just because it's important that there be more pharmacies doesn't mean it's going to happen. You don't know, I don't know, no one knows. The future is a mist. So therefore, we use the present subjunctive. Now let's take a look at stem changing verbs in the present subjunctive. AR and ER verbs are going to stem change just like they do in the present indicative in the present subjunctive. They're going to stem change just as they do. So let's take a look. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, AR verbs that stem change in the present indicative stem change in the yo, tu, el, ella, usted, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes, but not in the nosotros, vosotros form. So the present subjunctive right here with pensar and mostrar do the same thing. So it's piense, pienses, piense, but not in the nosotros, vosotros form. Of course, you have the ending of the present subjunctive, but it doesn't stem change. Pensemos, penséis, piensen. Likewise, mostrar. And here are two ER verbs that stem change in the present indicative. They're going to stem change in the present subjunctive the same way. Entienda, entiendas, entienda. In the nosotros, vosotros form, they will not stem change. Entendamos, entendáis, entiendan. Here's the stem change there. Volver, vuelva, vuelvas, vuelva. Volvamos, volváis, vuelvan. So once again, AR and ER verbs of the present indicative that stem change the same way in the present subjunctive. That means they will not stem change in the nosotros, vosotros form. But the IR verbs that stem change in the present indicative have the same stem changes in the present subjunctive, but they also will stem change in the nosotros, vosotros form. So that's the difference. In other words, they will stem change in every single person. Yo, tú, él, nosotros, vosotros, ellos. That's the difference between the AR, ER stem changing verbs and the IR stem changing verbs in this subjunctive, the present subjunctive. So let's take a look. So here we have three verbs: pedir, sentir, and dormir. Notice pedir. It stem changes E to I in the present indicative. It's also going to stem change E to I in the present subjunctive. Pida, pidas, pida. But in nosotros, vosotros form, it also stem changes Pidamos, pidáis, pidan. So it stem changes in every single person. When we get to the nosotros, vosotros form, it will stem change ida, I also. But sentir, if you remember, sentir in the present indicative stem changed ida, ie. And it will stem change ida, ie, except when you get the nosotros, vosotros form, where it will only stem change ida, I. Dormir, you remember, in the present indicative was O-D-U-E. But in the present subjunctive, it will also stem change O-D-U-E, except in the nosotros, vosotros form, where it will stem change only O-D-U.